So how's things been going for you, Scott? Have you had any movement in the last couple of weeks?
As a matter of fact, I got my guide last week, and uh, like I think something's happening to me right now. I just kind of got the feeling of just there's really no reason to try or protect. Just kind of relaxing into it, and just feels like quite a relief. I don't know what I would call it or anything, but it sure feels good.
Great, great, yeah. Yeah, that's a good thing to happen, that relaxing into it. Yes.
Yeah, he answered something this morning, and it kept feeling more and more relaxed. And the last thing today was, I mean, no fireworks, but just a feeling of sinking, sinking into it. Just realizing I don't have to do shit. Just fucking get in the trunk and just let it go.
Right, right, yeah. Yeah, it's very much a perspective shift that we experience more so than anything else. And of course that's not something you can work towards. It's only something you can discover. So, yeah, right. So who's your guide?
James,
Oh, James. Yeah, good one. Yeah. Oh, James. Yeah.
something about it was very transformational. Like I don't know if it's the format, it's what he's talking about, the direct pointing. You know, it's not like I haven't seen it before, but something about being able to bounce back and forth like we about 3 times a day, just letting it sink in each in between each email,
Right, right.
whatever. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, yeah. There's no really explaining it, is there? It's good stuff.
I don't think I have to do anything else. Just let it go. Seems
Yep.
like that.
Yeah, you kind of got to be relaxed to allow that seeing to go where it's pulled to. Yeah. So what would you, Scott, what would you tell Dennis? Dennis is there struggling. He wants to work at it. What would you tell him about doing that?
I mean, I could tell a story, but what it feels like is just giving up, just trusting that the body's just going to do it. That you don't have to try. You don't have to protect. Just let the horse go. Just let it take you wherever it wants to go.
And can you,
Trust it.
how do you do that? How can you bring yourself to drop the reins and just trust that it's okay?
The, ex, the direct pointing to the fact that I don't control what I'm doing had a lot to do with it. And then just realizing that, like, everything is just our body responding to environmental conditions, and that all the thinking and trying and all that shit is just extra stuff we put on top of it. It doesn't really have anything to do with our life, the reality. It's weird. Sorry if I'm getting emotional. Just kind of weird.
Yeah, that don't have to be sorry. Geez, I love that. Yeah, yeah,
There's some sadness, all those years of beating myself up. It's it's hard to come to terms with that. I don't need to, but I don't know what the sadness is. It must be that. I don't know. It
yeah,
seems
yeah.
like it's.
Look, I get it. I get it. And and for me, it's mixed with hilarity as well. It's both sad and funny at the same time. How do you explain that? That's impossible, isn't it? But it is. Yeah. It's yeah. Wow. What's your reaction to that, Dennis?
Yeah, it's lovely to see Scott in this space. It's very real. It's the work. Um, when he was talking initially, when Scott was talking initially, there was a small amount of sort of envy or, oh, here he is now about to pop, something like that. But that's just there. Um, that question was the same from me that you asked, Vince. Well, how do you stop? How do you drop the reins? I don't know that I know how to do that, but I do know how to see, how to search, how to try, how to push. Um, but it really resonated when Scott said, sort of realizing all the shit over the years, kind of struggle or whatever way he put it, for kind of, for nothing, and the sadness around that. I suppose it's a letting go. It reminded me of a time in a different environment, talking about similar stuff around life and family, and the sort of the depth of the idea we had about how things should be, and the sadness around that. It felt like it was similar to Scott's expression. Um,
Mm, yeah. It brings up for me a realization that I had at some point. I don't remember when now, but at some point I realized that although none of that stuff that I was obsessively working with for over 40 years, none of that woke me up. But when I did wake up, I recognized that every single bit of that played its part. It all contributed to the point where it actually happened for me. So it seemed like it was a waste for a moment, but then it also seemed like, you know what, it was part of the recipe that was required to get this taste. Yeah.
for me personally, right now, it feels like, because I'm starting a new job in a few days, next Tuesday, and I haven't worked in over a year. I suppose the way I would describe it is it's a really important part of life to have work and earn and rear your family. And this is probably not the correct way to describe it, but it feels like I'm a bit flighty around it, that I need to either get the job and for it to go okay, or for it to fail, and then I have the message. But it's hard to maybe let go in this space right now. And that if I'm working a couple of months, there'll be a certain level of physical security that allows for maybe something else to happen. I don't know if that's making sense. Another way of saying it is, it's like I'm being chased by a tiger, and you know we're here discussing. Well, wake up. You're like, I will in a minute once I get out of danger.
Mm, mm,
But at the moment, for me, a lot of energy work. I Yesterday I did a lot of meditation. I was following an Angelo three-part meditation where he was kind of saying to look at a thought, pick one, look at it, not the thought itself, but its structure, how it's made, its edges, just really get intimate. And that quickly fell away, and I was just left with sensations. And the sensation of a contraction in the face, behind the nose, in the eyes, the jaw, the movement, the vibration, the tightness, the contraction. It really felt like that was the me. And if that contraction would just let go, the me would let go. And like I am that contraction in my face was the sort of thing I was working with. And I messaged him and asked him for, this thought thing is great, but I need to. What about sensation? What about contraction and sensation? Of course, then in a couple of hours there, I found a whole video he had done last week on sensation, and it was beautiful. So the sensations were in the head, in the neck, in the back of the head, down the back, in the chest, around the heart. And I could feel the contraction, the energy, and the tightness. And I've just been doing that meditation. Then I did some TRE the other day, and then I meant to do TRE yesterday, but I didn't because I was busy. And then last night in the bed, the body was just going crazy. Like I was lying there next to all, the leg just kicked out. And then I found myself doing TRE in the bed for an hour, releasing energy. So, and there was a real fear, oh, if I don't, the heart, it's like back to the heart, oh, it'll start to beat irregular now if I don't. And it was like the TRE was a way of discharging the energy that the body was just dying to discharge because it had started it itself in bed. So my plan today was to do some meditations and do some TRE as part of my practice because I can't give up. So here we are.
So any idea where all that energy comes from? Has any thoughts occurred about what generates that energy?
Yeah, lots of little like general thoughts would be it's emotion trapped in the body, it's energy trapped from a young child and all the way along my life, not feeling things. But then little memories come up, being in the swimming pool, being held under, when I was, I don't know, maybe say 8, doing a sort of a somersault on a pull-out couch and then hitting the concrete ground right on my lower back, my tailbone, and an extreme pain, and not having any adults around, and that memory came up that that whole area shut down. Other little memories of incidents come up, and I acknowledge them, and um,
What's there
yeah.
now?
So like it's yeah. I was going to say yeah. Straight away, I'm drawn to a heaviness in the chest, in the center column, the solar plex, the heart, the back, just a heaviness.
What a fantasy. What if that tightness, that energy is a holding down of something? What if
Yeah,
it
yeah,
what if
could
it's
be.
a lid you've got on something?
Yeah. How do I get the lid off?
Well, you don't take the lid off. What you do is you just kind of look underneath the lid and right. What we want to do is make the lid unnecessary rather than remove the lid. So what we've got to do is we're looking at is just a shift in what our intentions might be. So when we're looking for relief, we're always looking for something to happen in the future. But when we look at what is actually there now in the present, no matter where it came from, without doubt it came from before somewhere, but nevertheless it's there now. And that lid is helping you avoid it. So when you do your TRE and dissipate all that energy, it's just like you're kind of letting the pressure out of the pressure cooker without actually taking the lid off. I'm not saying it don't do it or anything like that. I'm just saying let's play with this fantasy that maybe what that is a way of keeping you away from what you need to look at. And I don't mean the details of it either, just the fact that there's something there.
Yeah, I would agree, and I feel like I am working with that in the sense that anger has been one that I've been working with and we've been discussing, and that's there.
Mm-hmm. So what's
Um,
that on top of? What's the anger keeping you away from? The first thing that comes to mind. Don't think about it. Just accept the first thought that pops up.
yeah, well, what pops up immediately, and it's popped up before, is a sense of I remember, when I'd leave work or something would have happened, and just the back of the middle back would just be contracting, just literally tightening down, and I could feel it like I can't get a breath because it's so tight. And obviously, that's around whatever thoughts at the time I was having, which are ultimately this could kill me, and believing those thoughts. So it was forever believing thoughts instead of feeling feelings.
Mm.
So what's under anger in the sense of feeling?
Now, the thoughts themselves are not going to reveal directly what it is because they're going to be about something that's happened in the present. But what triggers that is what we're interested in. And that what triggers it is something from before. So if you were saying you're leaving work and you're feeling that in the small of your back and so on, what's triggered that? So it's easy to kind of look at what's happened as you were leaving or before work or the relief from leaving work. But that's symbolic of something else.
Um, an inability to stand up for myself,
Okay.
maybe a suppressed rage.
No,
I, I
no,
have, I,
stay with the first one. An inability to stand up for myself. Okay. The rage would be um
it's a
trying to
reaction
get
to it.
away from that one. Yeah, that would be the reaction. But so the inability, that's that. Wow, I mean
Yeah,
that's a big one, isn't it? So that triggers all sorts of things, including a an opinion about yourself, as well as the
yeah. Underneath,
helplessness. Yeah.
underneath that, there's I'm no good, um,
No,
and
but I'm no good came from something that happened to you. Like that inability to stand up for yourself was came out of I'm no good, eh? Would that be accurate?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
It's
And I'm
the
no good
forerunner.
came from something that happened, or your
Yeah, I
inter
was gonna say next. I
yeah.
don't know why I'm no.
But you do know why you're no good. You don't. Yeah. I mean, you may not know that you know it, but you do know it. It's there. It's there, and it happened when you were young. When you see that picture of yourself unable to stand up for yourself, how old are you at that? Are you a teenager or younger? You at primary school? You at home? Where are you? What's the picture? First thing that comes to mind. Don't chase it. Just accept whatever pops up.
Yeah, give me a second now.
If you think too much, you get away from it again.
Yeah, I'm not thinking about anything.
Mm. So when you said an inability to stand up for myself, where did that come from? There was a picture there. Did you see the picture?
Yeah, there was a brief picture of in work not saying things maybe that I'd want to say or something like that. But and then what came next was shame.
Right. So that was at work. So you're an adult there doing that one. Okay. Well, that's not it. Let's go back before that. So where did you learn how to do that to be subservient and not stand up for yourself? When that first happened, you were helpless. You had no way you could stand up for yourself. As an adult, you at least you've got, theoretically at least, you've got some ability to stand up for yourself. But as a kid, you couldn't. You're totally helpless because you've got some figure of authority going on at you. And you can't even say anything, let alone
Yeah,
stand up for yourself. Yeah.
I'm young. I'm let's say I'm eight. I don't know. This
Yeah,
is
yeah,
one
you
thing.
got
Just don't
short
know
pants
when.
on.
No, we live in Ireland. You're always wearing trousers. Um, I'm at the kitchen table. I'm eight. Whole family's there. It's a very small table,
Yep, yep,
and my
yep.
mum and dad are arguing.
Yeah, so who's going on at you? Who's going on at you that you can't answer back? Mum or
But
dad?
no, at this point, you don't say anything. This is already you don't say anything. They're arguing. It's an unsafe situation as far as you're concerned
All right.
psychologically. So
So they're arguing between themselves and you can't say anything. Is that the picture you've got?
yeah,
Right. And if you say anything, you're just going to get your head snapped off, eh?
yeah, yeah. My dad's really angry, and he throws his plate against the washing machine.
Right.
So you just freeze
Yep, yep, yep. And his anger is absolutely terrifying, eh?
in that moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a memory.
Yep. Well, that's where this stuff starts, and it's because you're so helpless to do anything. It's like you've just got to internalize it. That's the only way you can cope with it, just to withdraw into yourself. Can you get that feeling of pulling into yourself? Oh, and do you feel that in the small of your back?
It's always behind the heart, and at that part of the back, tight and
Yeah.
squeezed.
So under the fear, there's a sadness, eh? I mean, the heart's not where you experience fear, that's where you experience sadness.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sadness or shame.
Oh, if it's shame, then let's go back a bit further then. Let's get even younger. If we've got shame, yeah, what would you be ashamed of? That's something you did, not something you didn't do. So you're even younger now?
I'm not. Nothing's coming to mind in
Right,
terms of being
okay. So
younger.
let's just stay at the table with mum and dad arguing, right? So whereabouts in that situation can you find a reason to be shamed, to be shameful, to be ashamed of? Where in that situation can you find that?
Suppose there's a story around it that this isn't right, this isn't good, this isn't normal, and yet it is what
Okay,
we're
so
experiencing.
are you responsible for them fighting? You could be ashamed of that if you are. Did you start that fight? Something you did cause them to start arguing?
No, no, no. Um,
Oh, that was pretty emphatic. Yeah.
I suppose there's a shame around kind of feeling how maybe fucked up things were, and yeah, for people on the outside it all looked normal, but inside it wasn't.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh. Okay. That's interesting. That one. Yeah. Kids do tend to take responsibility for the stuff that goes on around them. They kind of yeah. So maybe you're feeling shameful for the whole situation, not anything specific.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, feeling people's emotions and feeling people's. I think I'm very good at that.
Mm.
Looking at someone, looking at the situation, and feeling how they're feeling, or at least understanding how they're feeling.
Yep. Yep.
And if it's your man, kind of take that on. If it's about your dad,
Yeah. Do you imagine at that age, sitting at the table, do you imagine that this same thing is happening in other families as well? Or do you imagine that your family is different to others as that young kid?
I think I felt that it's different because I remember going to a friend's house across the road, and there he was adopted, but the parents were older, and they were very calm and caring and communicative,
Right.
and just I could see differences.
Okay, yep, yep. So it was your family you were ashamed of, ashamed for.
That's a good point. I just want to let that one go in.
Mm. I mean, it doesn't even need saying, but it's obvious for you as an adult that for you to feel ashamed of your family is a pretty ridiculous situation, eh? But yet, as a kid, it feels perfectly legitimate and reasonable, eh?
Yeah, but I wouldn't even say as an adult it's not appropriate either.
Okay,
I think it's still here.
right, right, okay, that's interesting. But as a parent, I rather imagine that you work very hard not to be that way yourself.
I do. I do. There is a sense of still, no matter how hard I've worked at this point in my life, there's still a veil between what I could be and what I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the search takes me away in some way from being an even better father and partner. And that's very uncomfortable.
Mm. So do you think there might be a part of you that says if you just stop trying and relax, that you'll actually revert to being the way your parents were? That you'll start being that shameful behavior? Do you think it's in you and you've just got to always control that in order to not be that way?
Feels like there's a piece of that, all right. It feels like there's, let's put it this way, it feels like my dad is in here and my mom is in here and they're bursting to express and I have to keep a lid on it.
Right.
And examples of that might be being more angry, expressive, more and more like my dad. But then the thoughts are obviously, well, that, that's damaging to the kids. That you can't let that one out of the bag, because while it might feel great for you and you can be this loose flying around the place bundle of
Yep.
whatever, that's not good for
There are
this
consequences.
family.
Yeah.
But maybe it's not what I say or how it comes out. Maybe it's where it's coming from that's important, and that's what children feel.
Yeah, they are sensitive, aren't they? They are perceptive. So you think your kids see that in you? Do they see that a suppressed anger when they look at you? Or is your fakeness very, very convincing? Mm.
They see control, they see discipline, they see competency, um, and the caring side, and conversations, and the connection, and effort, and striving. You definitely don't see a carefree, let's just see what the world brings and enjoy yourself.
Mm.
That's,
Mm. Yeah, well, you better not be that way. If you're going to be carefree, you're going to fuck somebody else's life up, aren't you?
mm, mm, just laughing there. Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And it's funny how this serious stuff can be funny, isn't it? It is both serious and funny. Yeah. So somehow there there needs to happen a letting go, and then a realizing that you're not going to turn into your father when you let go. That no matter how much you let go, you're not going to channel him 100%. It's the fear of that where all that tension comes from, isn't it? All that holding on, all that lid, all that suppression comes from the fear of that. Have you ever let go and experienced that? Has it ever actually happened?
Think bits of it, sometimes little bits, and it felt, yeah, it felt good. It felt freeing. It just feels so powerful. It feels so all consuming. It's and so that equates to danger. Like if I'm truly
Mm,
me and I act from
mm,
there, and I'm, let's say, as an example, angry, clear about what point I want to make,
mm-hmm.
that it's it feels way, way too powerful.
Yep. But have you ever
Instead,
experienced that powerfulness in action? Have you ever experienced it coming out? Have you ever let it out at any point?
yeah, yeah, I remember once, yeah.
It was pretty scary, eh?
Only, oh no, only afterwards, when I thought about it. But at the moment, felt liberating. But it
Mm,
mightn't have looked like that from the outside. But it
mm,
was.
mm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a power to it that feels, and it's kind of why I did martial arts for years and channeled my energies into all the sort of, the Bruce Lee stuff, the putting your
Mhm.
fingers through stones and just trying to, really mystical side of it all. It felt like there's so much power. Um, and this is probably another example of why it's not appropriate. Like this, the time I remember was, I remember my younger brother had come in with us to a nightclub, and he wasn't allowed in. And we went in, myself and my friend, and there's a group of lads who had been bothering my friend for a good while outside of this place, just something around girls and things. And then this particular night, they kept coming over and kind of being on top of us. And at one point, then one of the guys just came over and was dancing, and was like, there was nobody else around, so it was very obvious, right in my face. And the anger of my brother's situation, and not, something just kind of went, and I threw him a punch and sent him flying. And I said, okay, we suppose we better leave. But the other guys didn't come near us. They ran out to the bouncers. And on the way out, then the bouncer was trying to stop him. I was so angry, but yet so clear. It was like, that sort of clear
Mhm.
samurai sort of, there's no messing here. And it was like a different state. And the bouncer, I remember he was bigger than me. Like he was in 6'5". And he tried to stop me outside. And I just put my hands on his arms and I just placed him on the floor, and walked off. Um, and it felt great, but that's that anger coming out and its power. So I was like,
But that was
I don't abuse
controlled
my
though,
power.
wasn't it? That wasn't like your father's anger. Your father's anger wasn't
No,
controlled, eh?
yeah, it was very, I wouldn't say controlled. It was very clear.
Mm. Yeah, pinpoint direction. Sure. Yeah.
So that's just a time of expressing anger that comes.
Mm.
There's probably not a lot of them.
But that wasn't at all like your father's anger. Your father's anger was just pure emotion, uncontrolled, spewing it out, eh?
Yeah, different. Yeah, yeah, more immature, I would say.
Yeah. Mm.
I think that's why the martial arts was such an important part of channeling those energies into
Yep,
something
sure.
disciplined and good, and was probably one of the reasons I didn't end up like my other siblings, those different outlets and different things.
Yep. And I would suggest to you now that you would not be able to do it like your father. You would not be able to just spew it out. You would, the moment that start, you would see it and it would change. You would not be able to. You will never become your father, even though
Yeah,
that is a big fear you've got. Yeah.
like I've already said it to my wife that look, and you inspired me to do it because you used to talk about your wife, and I said to her, I said, look, I'm going to be getting angry every now and then, and I want you to know it's not about you. I'm not getting angry with you. I'm just getting angry, so don't take it personally. We had a chat about it. She was like, "No, but you," and I said, "No, I'm angry. It's not at you. It's just I'm angry. So just let me be angry and
Yep.
don't take it personally."
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, yeah. And being able to experience that too, you will experience how different it is from what generated that fear in the first place. It'll never be like that. You are not your father, even though there is the fear of that. So there's no such thing as trust. There's only the opposite. There's only mistrust. So mistrust is like a thing that you can get a hold of and measure and whatever. But trust is the absence of that. And it's only when you experience the absence of that when you don't need to hold back, because what's going to happen spontaneously is not what you fear. That's when you can relax and let go. So it's something you will learn by experience. Head can't do it. No matter what you think about it, it's not going to happen. It's just something you've got to experience.
Hmm. Yeah, and I can see the spiritual ideas. Everything is exactly as it should be. There's no mistakes, so none of this could be a problem. So there's nothing to fix. So
Yeah, well, at the same time, all of that is true. It's all bullshit, which is impossible to explain. But it's again, it's perspective. See, so what you experience isn't what's going to change you. It's the ramifications of what you experience. And so it's what it means, what you discover. That's where the change is going to take place. And when I say change, I'm talking about changing from having to keep the lid on all the time to being able to relax and be spontaneous and not have those kind of fears realized. So when you do get angry, that anger, when it does turn up, it will be because it's triggered by something. And the good thing about those triggers when they happen is that that's something that you get a chance to look at that you wouldn't see if it wasn't triggered. And by seeing it, it changes.
yeah, it's just exhausting to think about. That's
Mm.
why I went to the place of just want to wake up first and have initial feeling, then all this stuff will work be worked through without the ability to put a lid on. Is the way it goes. Maybe that's not true either. Maybe I'm waking up backwards.
Yeah, well, of course, there is that expectation that when you wake up, that stuff won't happen anymore. But that's just an expectation, isn't it?
Well, my expectation is that it will happen. That it happen
Yeah, great. Yeah,
beautifully, and I'll have to deal with it then. The ramifications or the reactions or whatever.
that's
The
pretty good.
scenes, you
Yeah.
can't hold them back. But I think for me right now, it's both. It's inquiry and it's body work. It's definitely something that's been coming up
Mhm.
because I started back doing yoga and I'm doing theory more regular. I think that's when I'm doing it. I don't want to think that. And then the
Okay.
inquiry and these meetings very important.
Yep.
And coming to them and inquiring.
So what if you consider that doing these things is just something that you do while you wait for waking up to happen?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. That's not going to do the waking up for you. But see, you're already awake to a fair degree. You know, you already recognize that there's no self running the show, don't you? Even though it feels like you see it, you see that there's no little man in there pulling levers, eh?
I really don't know how to explain it. Like I know with the work guide that you spend a lot of time looking for self, looking for the I, looking for you, and you don't find it anywhere.
Hmm.
But that's about as much as I can say. I mean,
Right. So let's drop that one because that's, you know, even if you don't find it, all that tells you is you haven't found it. It doesn't tell you that there's not one there. Right? And that a lot of people will come to the conclusion that there's not one there because they can't find it because they've looked in every corner that's possible. But okay, drop that one for the moment and look at what is there. And what is there is a whole bunch of stories you've got about Dennis. And it's responding to those stories that that creates that feeling of a me being there. So when you respond to the stories you've got about Dennis, you have you have feelings that seem to validate the stories. And you come to a logical conclusion that that's me. So when something happens and you feel like it's me or in you, why does it feel like you and not feel like the dog next door or a pink elephant? Why does it feel like me? What is
you know,
there
that
about
doesn't.
that feeling? What is there about that that makes it a me?
It feels like it's because it's where the center is. The center is here in the body, in the face, in the chest, more
Right.
so than over there on the in the hump. Uh,
But if I stuck a pin in your left index finger, would you say that that feeling was me? It's the body
no.
that feels something, and it's a sensation. Why is the sensation
Hmm.
in the chest me and the sensation of a finger prick not you? Why one is just a sensation and the other one is me? What's the difference?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say the sensation in the chest is me. I would say the sensation in the face, behind the eyes, the sinus area, that contractedness in the face feels like me. And that's why when I did that meditation, I was just left with sensations and contractions of muscles and pains
Hmm.
that
So they weren't
something is,
shouting out me, those ones. They were just sensations, eh?
felt like there was a gathering of the me around it, like they are the me, or in some way holding the me in place. Now I know that's a story, so I'm looking at that contraction.
So even the words can be a bit hypnotic, can't they? You know, to say I am looking at that, but if you're accurate, you would just say there is looking at that.
There's a noticing of that, yes.
Mm. And that feels right when you say that, does it?
Yeah, there's awareness, and
Yeah,
awareness is aware of everything
yeah,
that it's
yeah, yeah.
aware of.
So those things
But
they don't cause you to
in
have
that
that
moment,
identification, but certain
yeah, in
feelings
that
do, eh?
moment, there's awareness of contractions. There's not awareness of the dog barking up the road. So awareness is pointed at what it's aware of, what causes it to move to what it's aware of. I don't know. I feel like I am aware and the awareness. And
So it's got to be a logical conclusion that
but there's
it's
the trick. The trick is I'm aware of awareness. That's seems to be the problem. That loop thought or
okay. So let's change the language there too. Let's say instead of saying I am aware of awareness, I mean that grammatically that's correct, but it's an abstract noun, not a concrete noun. That awareness that you're aware of. Let's say instead of that, let's say I am aware of being aware. Does that ring okay? Does that sound okay?
yeah, it sounds okay. Yeah.
Yep. So let's say I am aware that I am aware of being aware. Can you get your mind around that one as well? Can you actually experience being aware of being aware of being aware?
It kind of sounds ridiculous, but
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, it does sound ridiculous. Well, it is pretty ridiculous too, but can you experience it? I mean, let's say you're aware of let's shift your focus to um the sensation of your hand resting on whatever it's resting on, right? So you can feel your
yeah,
hand, the sense of touch. Okay, so there is awareness of that sense of touch, right? Then there is also an
yeah,
awareness of the fact that you're aware of that sense of touch, right? That's pretty easy to go that step. If we go one more step and say that you are aware of the fact that you are aware of that sense of touch, you can still
yeah. I
do
can.
that one. Okay, all right. That's a bit more difficult, but you can do that. And if we go another one, it gets a bit too much. But essentially, you can be aware that you're aware of the aware being aware of the sense of touch.
When you did that, it was like the blackness. It's the blackness that's aware of whatever. But then I noticed that's just a thought.
Mm. Okay, so my next question is, all right, so even with that, that's okay. My next question is, which of those being aware is you?
Well, the instinctive answer to give is none of them.
Right? Because they're not really personal, are they? There is just a process that we're describing here. That is,
But they still feel out in front of me.
yeah. So we could change being aware to where is focusing. So we focus on the sensation in the hand, and then we focus on the fact that we are focused on the sensation in the hand. And then if we add that next step is we can focus on the fact that we are focused on focusing on the sensation in the hand. So what we've got is this process of focusing where our attention is directed at that sensation. But we're just talking about sensation. and attention or focus? Do any of them feel like they are you, or are they just processes
No,
happening? Yeah.
none of them feel like they're me. Me feels like crystal clear silence, stillness, and just effortless looking. It's just, it's totally free. It's,
So it's fairly easy from that point to extend this to everything that happens with any of our senses. They're things that they get stimulated by circumstances, by conditions, and they just happen. They don't say anything about ownership, do they? That what we are talking about quite clearly, we can see quite clearly, are their processes, whether we're hearing, whether we're seeing, whether we're feeling, whatever of our senses are activated, that's a process that happens, and we can witness that. We don't have to claim that it is me that's doing those things. In fact, when I just said it then, that me doing it, it's almost laughable. It just seems like it's a crazy thing for me to. It's like I'm going to claim ownership of everything I can see. When I look out the window and see the road, I'm going to claim ownership of that because I see it. That's about as ridiculous as claiming ownership of any process that goes on with the senses, isn't it?
yeah.
If you look out and see the stars, do you own them? I don't identify with them either. So any identification is an overlay that we put on stuff. It's a mental construct that we add to what is actually happening. Mm. I think we should just leave it there and let that stuff sink in a bit.
Thanks, Vince.
You're welcome. Oh, I'm talked out. Somebody else talk. Mm. Did any of that stuff make sense to you, Kirsty?
Yes, it is making sense to me. And it's really resonant for me as well at the moment. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm sorry, I put everything on mute. I've got people working in the garden and they just started cutting things, so it got very noisy. So, yeah,
That's
I
all
can
right.
put it as well. I am here.
Good.
Yeah. Mm.
So where are you up to on this process?
So I have been studying the Course in Miracles over the last year. So that's what's brought me to a lot of this work. So I was on the call with you last week with our group with Charmaine.
Oh yeah, yep.
So the last year for me has been, yeah, very much going inward, doing a lot of meditation, a lot of study. Yeah, so what's been fascinating for me though is at the end of the work, but because I think there was quite a lot of structure with that, I found the last month where I haven't got the same structure. There just seems to be a lot of stuff that's coming up in life, that there's a definite theme of, again, I resonated with the anger. There's anger that seems to be coming up. And all seems to be rooted in a lack of trust. So it's where I feel that people have been letting me down, or they haven't been honest with me, where there appears to be a lack of integrity. Yeah, so it's been bringing up quite a lot of bodily sensations. So most commonly around the heart, palpitations, which with my age, people just love to say, oh, that's just your age. And I think, I don't think it is, because it's definitely worse if I'm stressed. And I can have times where it's not there, but then when I feel a little bit overwhelmed with things that appear to be happening, yeah, I can really feel it. But I'm in that place where it's like there's a split, because it's like there's a very conceptual understanding, and I've also had certain experiences, but it feels like you're having done that year. This is now where the rubber meets the road, as it were, and it's the application that it feels a bit like, whoa. So I'm finding I'm going into freeze a lot. So rather than going into the actual reaction as to what I might like to say when I feel something's been unfair or unjust, it's like there is that happening, which is the anger, but there's the being with it as well. And not having that same desire that I have to fix everything so quickly. So old me, as it were, would have to get out of that feeling and fix it. Whatever the situation was, just make it okay. Whereas I'm not really doing a great deal at the moment, and I'm just allowing things to just unfold more, but it's still not comfortable.
Yeah.
It really isn't. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the split, as it were, that I understand things, and as I said, there have been certain experiences, and there's been times where it felt like I had nothing for about 9 months, where life was just in such a perfect, beautiful flow, and then it's been like, have this, 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 and it's like, ah. So
Are you up
okay.
for a bit of burning rubber?
Have I what? Sorry, just repeat that.
Are you up for it? Let's burn a bit of rubber.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to put headphones in if that's okay, just so that if they start
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
hitting flagstones and stuff again, it will just be a little bit more bearable for us all.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. I might let Tyler have a go at you, eh? You up for that, Tyler?
I mean, okay, you seem tired.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Kirsty, is that?
Good morning, baby. I'm on a Zoom call right now.
Yeah, just call me back soon, Scott.
Say,
Yeah, Kirsty, so you said you were now you said something like with situations now you don't really try to change the situation to make it better. It doesn't feel like there's a situation to change to make it better. Is that what you said? Sorry, I can't hear you now.
No. Well, your microphone's not working, Kirsty.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Mm.
Let me just close the door. We should be okay. Okay. So what I was saying is the stuff is happening, but rather than reacting in the immediacy, which is what I would do, oh, yeah, this is really bad, I must sort it. It's more that there can be that response, and there can be a desire for me to like write stuff down to kind of get it out. But there's also the recognition of looking at the patterns and what this is actually trying to show me, rather than it's, oh, that's just what's happening and I must change it. It's looking at, that's happening, it feels really bad and I don't like it, but what is this actually teaching me? Why is it here? Why is it showing up? What can I learn from it? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The
So,
human side of me is still annoyed or whatever it might be, but there's the using that annoyance as the, okay, what can I look at here? What needs my attention?
okay, so you've joined this meeting today. What are you trying to change by coming here?
Um, I did a first meeting with Vince last week, and I really loved the process of the witnessing of other people going through the process of really feeling and getting to what's underneath it. So it's what's brought me to the call is to get more experience of that process, and also try to learn how I can apply that to myself to a degree, but with getting myself out the way, as it were. Because
But
I've
why?
found I've sat with it many times, and then I'll get to a certain state and think, oh, I'm just looping. I'm just going around the same stuff. It's like my mind's just bringing up the same stories. And many of those stories are stories that I'm so bored of because they've been playing for 40 odd years anyway. But yeah, there's something else.
But why?
But why?
Why do you want to get, you know,
Uh, it's
experiences outside of-
why? I haven't actually asked myself that question, I don't think. Well, there's just this, my whole life has been very much on this path of trying to understand self, life. And yeah, I guess this is just what's happened and how everything's been guided over the last month or so through the group I'm part of.
Yeah, but why do you want it?
Why do I want it? Can I just check, why do I want what specifically? I'm just making sure I'm clear on the question.
What do you want?
What do I want? Freedom, peace, um, connection.
You think this will help you get those things?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it's also the recognition that the feeling that has come up with the stuff that's been happening of late isn't new. So I'm very aware of that, that it's like from what I've witnessed in this is only the third call I've done, that we know that we're responding, as Vincent's here, to what happened before. So yeah, the desire to to be able to respond without my past coloring the present.
That to be able to respond without your past coloring your present
In a
doesn't sound
reactive
very
way. Yeah. Does it sound what, sorry?
very concrete.
Okay. So what I'm saying is it's like I'm aware, particularly with one incident that's happened recently, is that I went from the 0 to 60, as it were, just boom, the response had happened. And it was only afterwards when I was reflecting and thinking I wasn't responding just to that. Something had triggered that response. So it's to get an understanding of what can get triggered in those situations.
I don't see a problem. What's the problem here?
What's the problem?
I mean, like when you go to drink water, it's because you're thirsty, right? And being thirsty doesn't feel good.
Well, yeah, I guess I mean, it doesn't feel good. And it's also the impact. Okay, so one situation was with my partner, where, I did get angry over a situation that seemed to just happen really quickly. So the recognition that I wasn't responding to that present moment is what I label, as you like, as I know it's just what's happening, but as the problem, because it has impact then on others.
Okay, so you want this stuff so that you can recognize when you're responding to, maybe things in your past, so that that doesn't make you act a certain way to other people.
Yeah, so that the response is appropriate to the situation and not colored by overlays of the past.
Okay. How how are we gonna do anything without colorings from the past?
Well, that's what I'm trying to.
Well, how do you know what to do when you wake up in the morning? How do you know to go brush your teeth and wash your face?
They're just things that I do and have done for a long time. So I guess they're just hardwired into the mind.
So would you try to get rid of those because, they're hardwired in you from the past?
No, but I'm always open to learning better ways.
What makes a
That
way better?
what makes it better? Um, okay, so what makes it better is that, well, in those particular things that you said, that they would be more efficient, they would be more beneficial, not just to me, but to others also. So it's just, I guess it's just the challenging stuff that it's like, we've all got things from our past that can be updated. So here is an example. I don't believe in the tooth fairy anymore, but I did at one point. So there are things that I recognize are just thoughts and beliefs that can be, witness challenged. And
So in a way, is this whole thing about improving yourself?
is it about improving myself?
Is it about being better?
It's more about well, so because there's a strong thing for me about connection with other, the ability to communicate better. Yeah, and just to be really, I mean, it's like there's a big thing for me about truth, which is why I think all of these things are related to truth. And of course, that truth is also recognizing the truth of who and what we are. So there's all kinds of different things. It's just, the whole, I said my whole life has been about what initially used to be what I would refer to as self-development, but that has all changed as I've been doing more with the course, that it's more about that awakening to the truth of who and what we really are.
Right,
Which is
but
why there's a split for how I'm
what
being
if,
and the understanding.
yeah, but what if this awakening thing made you a worse person? What if it made you a worse communicator? Would you still want it?
Would I still do it?
Yeah.
I'm not fully, again, understanding exactly what's been said here. So would I do what the feeling into the emotions
Like keep trying to awaken.
if it made me a worse person?
Yeah, if you knew, you're not really getting anything out of this, you're not gonna become a better communicator or form better connections. Yeah. What's in it for you? Would you still do it?
It feels, I don't know, the only way I can say it doesn't even feel like it's a choice. It's a hard thing to explain. It's just, this is the path that I'm on, and seems that it's been that for a while. So it's like there isn't, how can I put it? There isn't really like a set idea of what's going to be well, it's not even like there's a goal. It's really hard to put into words because, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to, I guess, put into words something that is beyond what I can describe. So would I
Right.
still do it? Yes, I'm still going to do it because that is the path that I'm on at the moment. Yeah, on. I can't even say at the moment. That is the path.
So the answer is yes, you would do it, even if it made you a worse communicator and had
Yeah,
worse connections.
yeah, which is partly what I think is happening in some ways, that there is a different way of responding to these situations.
And so it looks like you've valued this kind of self-development stuff for a long time, and that's been kind of what your life has been about. And then all of a sudden, there's this awakening thing, and you're saying that, okay, this is more important. I can throw all that other stuff out the window if I can get this, I can sacrifice being a good communicator and whatever if I can see this path through to the end. But what's the carrot?
The carrot.
I mean, I said why, and your answer was, "This is the path I'm on, bro."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, well, I don't know. It's hard to put it as a way of a carrot. That's what I'm trying to, because I say that to me, there isn't a defined outcome because I don't know what that is. I just know, like, particularly the only way I can describe it is like here with the course. When the course came my way, it's like the course had chosen me and it just made sense. It just made sense. All the bits about it just made so much sense for me. And yeah, just changed like what was important in life. All the things
So
that,
what is important in life?
what is it? What?
What is important in life?
Well, all the things that I thought were important, I no longer think are. But to me, it is, the more present that I can be in each and every moment, the more aware that I can be. It's not about, the things and all the stuff that was put on the screen before, all the things that we were told, what success was, what achievement was, what happiness was. It's none of that. I found that the most peaceful moments of just being, just completely present. So,
Right, so
so
now
the
you don't want,
important thing is you're continuing on this path of awakening.
Okay,
wherever
so
that goes. But there isn't a specific goal. I can't put that in a nutshell.
well, presence is one. You said being present.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now you don't want money, you don't want power, you want being, you want presence. Yeah, presence is good. Yeah,
Yeah.
better than chocolate cake presence.
Yeah. Presence is really good. That's where I definitely feel peace,
What's
where I
what
feel where I feel connected.
what's presence? What does it mean to be present?
To me to be fully aware of the experience that you're in that particular moment.
When are you not?
When am I not? When my mind is either running off into the past or into the future, making plans, reviewing the past, thinking about what I'm going to do next. Or when there's lots of busyness.
But you're still fully aware of that happening in your mind, no?
Um, okay, so I would just say for me, sometimes when there is a feeling of stress that I'm not fully aware, or I believe I'm not fully aware, that there's distractions, that there's things that are pulling my attention.
What does it feel like to not be fully aware?
Confusing. To not be fully aware. It feels disconnected. It feels confusing. I even had something coming up that it feels like non-inclusive somehow. I can't quite put that. That was just a word that came through.
Okay, so what do you do when you feel disconnected, when you feel the other word?
What do I do?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily one thing. So if I'm feeling disconnected, sometimes there could be the desire to come back into myself. So there could be some like reading, writing, meditation, movement, yoga, or there could be distraction. Let's go and eat something. Let's have a drink. Let's have a chat with somebody. So there can be different things
Right. So
depending on how I'm
why did
feeling.
you classify those things into two different boxes? You know, one is distraction and one is the good stuff, meditation, writing.
One feels that it's more a willingness to be with what is there, and the other is trying to distract from that.
But
Yeah,
is
I'm
the
feeling
goal
disconnected. I don't
of
like that feeling, so I'm going to go and do something else that changes that feeling.
but is the goal of isn't the goal of trying to come back into yourself that you have when you're doing this meditation and writing, is that not also the whole thing of trying to get away of the feeling, get away from the feeling?
Yeah, but one kind of feels better and would be labeled as a better way, and the other one feels that it's just pushing the feeling away and it's trying to cover over it and it's trying to make it different rather than integrating it. And that can also then come in with the double whammy where I might then give myself a bit of a guilt trip for doing that.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever feel bad, disconnected or whatever, and not try to do anything about it?
Yes, and that's what I've been doing more of a lot recently. I just need to plug this in. So yes, I do definitely. Yeah, and that's what this has been about, this different way of just being with it. I just plug in my laptop and there we go. But yeah, the old pattern is very much that something comes up and it doesn't feel good and I want to change it.
So, what do you think is going to happen after you wake up to these bad feelings? Are they still going to be there?
When I wake up to them, well, I guess there is a thought that there will be the truth of it, the understanding. Well, when I say understanding, it's not so much a conceptual understanding, but there'll be the truth of what is actually happening rather than the story of what's actually happening.
What's the difference?
I believe that one of them is because there's a misunderstanding. Very often what I'm understanding is these come from often way back in the past where there was no real understanding and no way of holding those emotions, whereas waking up to them, there is more of an understanding based on your experience and where we are now.
So, the difference between being awake and being unawake is that when you feel negative emotions, there will be some sort of understanding of
For
the
not
truth.
identifying with them, that the emotions can be there, but there isn't the identity associated with them and the stories that are attached to them.
What is an emotion?
What is an emotion? Well, an emotion, well, there's a difference, isn't it? There's the sensation, but the emotion to me is where there is a sensation, but then there's an immediate story that's attached to it that then creates the cascade of more emotion. Yeah. So it's not the sensation that's the problem, but it's all of those different stories and labels and other thoughts that get attached to it that then create a different experience.
So, you said something about truth
Mm-hmm.
and how you'll be able to see the truth about something when it's going on, and that will change, the flavor of the experience in some way. You'll see things for how they actually are and not for some story. Can you give an example of something where there's the truth of it and there's the story?
So give an example of what of a personal experience where there's truth aside from the story. Is that what
Yeah.
you're asking?
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So, well, the truth is that there is a sensation, whereas you at the moment, so there can be in certain situations where there is a sensation, but that, like I described as the 0 to 60, where I'm really what feels like reliving something prior in that moment. So the truth would be that it's just that sensation that is happening now without all of the story. So
So the
yeah,
story is not true, but the sensation is true.
well, I guess what I'm saying there is that the sensation, I don't think possibly nothing is true. But it's the truth of that would just be that there is a sensation. There is a sensation that is this sensation, not there is a sensation and that's because and because and because and because.
Can
So
I
you're
jump?
saying,
Yeah, can I jump in?
yeah.
Thanks, Tyler. Yeah. Kirsty, what are you feeling right now?
I feel quite pressured.
Yeah.
There is definite tightness around the chest. There is a slight fear of getting this wrong. There's slight weakness in my lower legs as well, and slightly blurry vision.
Right. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So you feel like Tyler's pushed you into a corner?
It's not, well, is it pushed into a corner? It's more the fear that I don't know if I'm saying the right thing.
Oh, so it's
And I'm not always like, oh, does he mean this? Does he mean that? Am I saying the right thing? What if I get this wrong? Yeah, there is a story there. What if I get this wrong?
yeah, yeah. So the whole time Tyler's asking you, and I'm thinking, yeah, he's helping you to get a clearer picture of what you want out of this and so on. But
Yeah.
in fact, that's not what was happening. What was happening was you were telling yourself, oh, maybe I'm not doing this right.
Well, yeah, and also there truthfully isn't a definitive outcome. I don't know what the outcome is. There's just a real willingness to go,
Yeah, yeah,
into this.
get that. Yeah,
And
I
it
see
even
you,
feels
Willie. Yeah,
even so more than a willingness. It even feels like there's a huge push to do it, that there's, something in me that's driving me to
yeah,
that.
yeah. Yeah, I liked your answer to that one, that where you said, you're here. This is it. You don't really have a choice about doing this. This.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
exactly how it feels. That it's like, and there's no putting the brakes on once you're on this process, as I see it. It's just like, no, this is it. It's not like I woke up one morning and thought, oh, I want to go down an awakening process.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
But
Um,
but Course in Miracles offered you something, or it seemed to offer you something that looked pretty good when you first started that, eh? So
yeah,
what you're after now is pretty much the same thing you were after when you started that one, eh? Is that true?
uh, well, when I went into the course, I had got to the stage where I just wanted a completely different way. Um,
So you
yeah.
had been trying things before that, but you
Oh
went
yeah, my whole life has been a seeker, definitely.
right. Yeah.
Definitely.
Oh, look,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know that
yeah.
one. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It'd be this, it'd be in this, it'd be in that. Let's do this course,
Mm,
this retreat, drink this plant medicine, whatever. The whole of my life has been very much
yeah, yeah.
along that route. And
Yeah.
this is where I think I love what you were sharing last week, that a lot of the stuff is just being very overcomplicated, that it's much more simple.
Mhm.
Um, and that's why there was real intrigue to really delve into this in a much.
Right. Yeah. And I like that word intrigue. So yeah, you're pretty curious about what might
Yeah,
change in you to
yeah, definitely. There's definitely curiosity there. And I said last week I was hugely inspired by I did the second session with you this 12 o'clock. Well, it's 12 o'clock in the UK when we start. And just the processes that I saw people going through were just so heart opening, just like wow. Yeah. So yeah. I
So
wanted to dive back into.
what is it going to take for your heart to open, like for yourself? I mean, your heart was opening for others. What about for yourself? What's it gonna take for you to wake up?
I honestly have no idea how I answer that question.
Hmm.
I don't know. What is it? I don't know. That's why I'm here, because as I say, there is the
It's good
willingness, there is
answer.
the
Yeah.
curiosity, but I really don't know what it takes.
Okay.
Um,
So
so
can you have a fantasy about how it will be for you when you wake up?
um well, I think you things that I don't expect that this experience of life is going to change dramatically, but my response to it would. That's the fantasy, that there's more of an acceptance and a piece of just what is. Um, so it's not like I'm expecting that I'm going to be like, whipped off up into the clouds and, levitating. There isn't that fantasy. It's
Okay.
just your life is still going to happen, but the acceptance of life just happening and the ability to just flow through life with that will be greater, is
Right.
my fantasy.
So what are you feeling right now compared to what you were feeling last time I asked you this 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago or whenever it was?
There's a lot of, okay, I do feel a lot lighter.
Mm-hmm.
I just feel a lot lighter. There's less tension in the
Because
body.
I haven't been as good as Tyler at pushing you into a corner. Huh?
Pushing my buttons. No,
Mm.
it's great. Because I mean, even that the contrast there has been really useful, noticing what
So what do
responses
you
we
think
have.
happened? What do you think? What's changed in you? Not, I know you just told me the experience is that you feel a lot lighter. They were your words. But what brought that about? What happened to you that you now feel a lot lighter than you did 10 minutes ago?
Um,
First
there
thing that
was
comes to mind is what I want. I don't want
okay,
you to think
okay.
about
I
things. Yeah.
felt more accepted. There was something about acceptability. And even it's like, because on Zoom there's it's even the responses that unconsciously are coming in from other people as well. So it felt more that there was an acceptance, and therefore I felt more relaxed.
Hmm. So do you get that that feeling of more acceptance was a gift you gave yourself?
Hmm.
Yeah. Something that
Yeah.
happened internally to you in you that brought that about? Yeah. So can you imagine that feeling was extended even further and that you find that in yourself at all sorts of times of the day and night?
Hmm.
Yeah. You can imagine that can happen for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Does it actually happen now for you already like that from time to time for moments, even just moments that you feel quite flowy and
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I love the way you said
I
yeah,
love that feeling.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is a lovely feeling, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when that happens, what is different? What is different to that and the times when you're just questioning what's going on for yourself and you're feeling a bit uptight about life in general? What's the difference? What's going on?
The difference that is immediately coming to mind is, so it's to do with getting something wrong or misinterpreting something, misjudging something,
Right, right, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then you not being
yeah.
uh yeah, is it I don't know whether accepted is, not being, if I take it to extremes, as though I'm really thinking about it now, there's even like, if I get something wrong, I could be cast aside.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
And I
That's
might die.
yeah.
It
That's
can
an
be that
invitation to dump
extreme. Yeah.
into some deep shit, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people don't like me. I'll be cast aside. I might die. It's that kind of, and I know that's not real, but
But
on
you
some
experience it.
level,
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. Yeah.
yeah, the body is just like, I've got to get this right, or the consequences could be terrible.
Mm. Yeah. I've got a friend who introduced me to a meme. I love the concept of a meme, and she's talked about putting post-it notes on reality. Yeah. And that I'm going to get it wrong, or I could get it wrong, or whatever. That's a post-it note on reality, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we take the post-it note for reality. We mistake it as something actual when it's a story that we've overlaid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Kirsty, what happens when you answer my questions wrongly?
What happens when I answer them wrongly? Um,
In
okay,
your
so two words came up, shame and humiliation.
Is that a running theme in your life?
I've never thought of that one before, but definitely if there's something bad is going to happen, I need to make it right. Otherwise, the consequences will be disastrous. That definitely has played out. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you have to say about that, Vince?
Part of me wants to dive deep and I I imagine that this stuff comes from the little girl Kirsty who got a lot of things wrong.
Mm, mm, yeah.
Do
And
you
of
see
course, like
that?
everything, it's not there all the time, but it is you in these trigger moments. That is what can run and very, very quickly.
So do you recognize what those triggers are when they happen?
It's where I feel where my interpretation is that, well, two immediately come to mind, where I feel that I could have done something wrong, um, or if I feel that somebody is lying to me or deceiving me or withholding the truth from me somehow.
What happens if you do everything wrong, like forever? Can you let yourself do things wrong?
Uh, as long well, okay, so that's interesting what immediately came. As long as there's no really negative
Oh
consequences.
no, no, but there's
It's not the
loads of
mind comes up, but
consequences.
yeah, I mean, it's like again, you that I totally fine with doing lots of things wrong, and I know that I don't do everything right. But also, as I say that, I recognize there are some things I don't even like to try to do in case I really mess it up. Um, so yeah, there is something there. How would it be like if I got everything wrong? Will it be both chaotic and humorous, I guess? But would I actually even be able to leave the house? I don't know.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing at this? You know, I mean, it's pretty serious stuff, isn't it? Getting things wrong.
If I got everything wrong, well, let's say if I got everything wrong, I would just find that as very kind of slapstick humor, getting everything wrong.
Yeah, but you once did get everything wrong, and it wasn't
Yeah.
humorous at all. It was disastrous. You're just running away from the seriousness of it by laughing about it.
Okay.
What does
Eh?
it feel like to get everything wrong? Say like Tyler asked you a question like right now, and then you got it so wrong. What does that feel like? You said the
Um,
worst thing possible.
What does it feel like? It just feels shameful. Yeah, it feels, and that I would be judged.
Hmm.
So the shame of being judged. Yeah. I've not been good enough. Yeah.
What if everyone in this Zoom meeting is judging you right now?
Yeah.
How does that feel?
Um, it actually feels, it actually does feel okay. There's something to do with the consequences. If they judged me and there was something that came off the back of that, that would be the problem, not the
But
actual
somehow
getting it
you
wrong.
still worry about it, even though there's no practical consequences there.
I don't know. I don't know. Because
Well,
I
I mean,
know it's logical, but yeah. And it's not even like it's a conscious, because we're having this, inquiry now, of course it's pulling stuff out, but when it's just in the day-to-day stuff, there isn't that, oh, people are judging me, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm not thinking about it in that way, on a conscious level. There's not an awareness of that. So even just having these conversations is already making it, is really helpful, because it is bringing that into an awareness.
it's
Oh,
just
there you go.
Vince, go ahead.
We're going to say so there is behavior that is the result of a fear of getting it wrong, but there's not the awareness that that's what it's about. There is just that stultified behavior. There is that inhibition to let go and get into something in case it's wrong, but without realizing that, because maybe I'll get it wrong. Is that the case? Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
So where do you think it came from, getting things wrong?
Um,
Let's say in the last 12 months, has there been anything that you've got so wrong that it's had really, really significant consequences, really bad consequences in the last 12 months? Just anything that comes to
uh,
mind. Something big. I'm talking about something real big.
really big. In the last 12 months, no.
So in the last 5 years, have you got anything really, really big time wrong?
There's definitely been mistakes made, but
But you can't think of
yeah,
them. Yeah.
but nothing that's had, well, I mean, it depends what we, again, it's all relative, isn't it? What we
Yeah,
class
yeah, of
as,
course. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So if I asked you, what's the earliest memory you've got of getting things really wrong? Or no, no, all right, let me rephrase that. What's the earliest memory you have of worrying about getting things really wrong?
I'm just thinking of homework as little girl, of
Right.
getting something wrong there.
Like primary
Um,
or high school or what
oh, do you know what does come to mind? Oh, we had when I was at primary school, the first headmaster that was there was quite old school and quite, we were all afraid of him.
yeah,
Um,
discipline. Yeah.
and when I mean, I don't know whether this would be young enough, because I was probably about 7 or 8 at the time, but I decided I didn't want to play out because it was raining. So me and a few friends hid under the chairs, and one of the dinner ladies found us and sent us to the headmaster. And that Oh, the terror of that. Yeah, the standing outside his door, I was crying, I was quaking. Um, really thinking that I was going to get in trouble, but also then the getting in trouble with my parents when I got home. So that,
Yeah,
that
a double
that
whammy.
really stands out.
Yeah.
Um, I'm just trying to think prior to that. I'm getting something about feeling responsibility for my younger brother, but I don't know. I can't think of a specific incident, but you
Yeah.
having to be the example.
Yeah, don't chase it at this stage.
Mm.
We might get to it later, but yeah, yeah.
Being told off when I went to the dentist and I wouldn't have the tooth out and getting really traumatically upset over that, and then being told I'd wasted my mum's time taking me there and she was really annoyed with me. But I was afraid of the procedure, not understanding it. So I was a little bit younger then, I think. Mm.
Yeah. So do you think these early memories have something to do with how you feel now, or something even earlier? But does it feel like it's come from the past, this thing you've got now about worrying about
It,
getting it wrong?
uh, it doesn't feel that the level of the intensity doesn't feel appropriate in certain situations to what's actually happening. So it does feel that there is more.
Yep, something deeper, something
Yeah,
bigger.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So you feel this behavior, this concern about getting things wrong actually interferes with your life. It actually causes you to be not spontaneous, to be not authentic sometimes.
Uh, it has been commented upon by my partner that sometimes I'm not very good with change, that I don't respond as well to change as I could, but then I can be really spontaneous as well. So it's not like it's a uniform thing.
Mm,
Again, the difference is it's like for me, being spontaneous and being spontaneous in certain situations is great. It's where I feel that something is being sprung upon me that I've not fully known the details on, and then everything's changed. So again, that going back to say that that's where the two are kind of linking in, where it's like that, where I perceive that people are not being fully truthful with me.
mm,
And now they're changing something. And it's like, ooh, yeah, the freeze and then the intensity comes up. And
mm,
then the anger because I perceive that somebody's lying to me.
mm. So that was seemingly a separate thing, wasn't it? Being lied to, but people not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that also feels like it came from before somewhere.
Yeah. Well, recently in the group, I did share that with an experience that had happened to me recently when I started really being with it. It went back to when I was very young. There was a experience of abuse with a farmer where I kept my horse, and being shut in rooms and made to kiss him. But when I tried to explain that as a child, that this man kisses me, the response that I got back was that, well, he's a very affectionate man and he's like that with everybody. So, yeah, so there was a resonance of that came through when I was, you know, being
Yeah,
present.
I get what you're saying. Um, that's a little bit of a tricky one to say that that was people not believing you
Not believing me.
rather than people
Yeah.
lying to you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so the not truth thing is a little different to that. I
Yeah.
think, you know.
Yeah.
That's not to say it's separate. It could be separate, or it might be involved. But that's an interesting one, isn't it? Yeah, and that's a big one
Yeah.
too. It's a huge
Yeah.
one,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially if it's your parents you tell, and they kind of brush it off like it's nothing, and you know it's not. Yeah, that's a bit of a trick. So I guess there is a version of that where you're being lied to, but mm, not being believed is pretty hurtful, isn't it?
Yeah, and again, well, maybe that's also the now you've put it in that perspective, I can also see when I'm asked things, I want to get it right. So there could be a
Okay.
link with
Yeah.
that because it's like, okay, I wasn't able to explain myself at a time where it actually really mattered. So I need to be able to before I say something, I need to be sure that what I'm going to say is clear and that people are going to get it and that they're going to understand me. So
Mm.
it's not just about even me. I need to know that you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you
That,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, I'd never say thank you. Yeah, I've not linked that before, but I think that could have a connection. Mm. Yeah, because I do get very frustrated if I feel that people are not getting my point of view. You're not getting me, you're not understanding. Yeah, that can be very stressful for me.
Yep, yep. Yeah, and that links in much more directly with getting it right than
Mm.
being lied to, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also that need that, so where I feel that again, so it does all link in, and now so if people are changing plans and they're not telling me, there is a link even with that as well, because something is being kept from me, something's being hidden, and then if I'm asking for clarity and that's not being given, it's the same kind of emotion that I
Yeah,
want
yeah,
to say.
yeah. What you just said, something is being hidden from me, that rings a bell for me. It
Yeah,
feels
yeah.
a big thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And maybe, that farmer's intentions were being hidden from you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and everything was in hidden sight. It wasn't like he was being affectionate in front of people. It was like, let's close this door and let's lock you in here. And yeah.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
Well, we didn't burn a lot of rubber, but we kind of got a little bit
I
of
think it's very
wind.
helpful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Thank you,
we'll
everyone.
we'll we'll keep going, but not at the moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Good to let
Thank
things integrate a little bit and just see what happens. Yeah. With no
you.
conclusions, just let things float around.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. And thank you, Tyler.
I really resonated with a lot of what Kirsty was saying around the abuse, the not being believed and having to get it right to be believed, and yeah, quite a lot. Can't remember it all. I'll probably listen to it back, but really useful things coming up. But it gave me a lot of understanding on some things I do that lead back um, to what happened to me. But I just wanted to mention something that's coming up. I feel in a very sort of different space lately, and it feels, it's hard to put words to it, but calm is the only word that comes near to it. It's really nice. It's new. It feels new after a lot of disturbance and darkness and upheaval and whatever. It just feels like the water's sort of settled at the moment. But I'm also more able to notice reactions and triggers. And one that's coming up strongly for me is, that comes up periodically, but at the moment it's a bit concerning because it's around my stepdaughter and step grandchildren, and I usually see them about once a week. And I'm having such a strong reaction of no and aversion to seeing them that it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I used to be, if that happened with other people, I'd be like, bye, I don't need this, and just move away from them. But obviously, and it's different because I've not really kind of experienced this around kind of sort of family things, because I moved away from home and things quite early on, and so it's not something that I can just doesn't feel like I can just walk away from it, although part of me wants to. So, but it's presenting as boredom. But from being on these talks, I've learned that boredom covers up a multitude of things or a multitude of feelings. So, but it's really at the point where I just find it really difficult to be around her. I just can't wait to get away. And and I'm making excuses and kind of lying really to not be around her. So the other day, I really sort of dug into that reaction, brought it up and to have a look at it, and it took a while. It took a long time to keep going back there. What is this? What is underneath this? What is it? And I use the IFS model that helps me a bit with. On top of it, there was a protector. There's a no, which I call the protector. There's no. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here. It's very angry. It's very shut down and it's very contracted and it's so uncomfortable, but it's protecting me, I feel, from those more vulnerable feelings. And so when I dug into it, there was a kind of vulnerable child feeling of fear, that didn't want to be there. And it was a whole process of kind of, there weren't many words to it. It was just a process of going into the feelings and digging beneath them. And to be honest, it's quite hard to remember what really went on, but I could feel I was getting underneath layers.
So,
and then at the end of it, yeah, go on.
So who instigates the meetings between you and her? Do you or does she?
Yeah, good question. Really good. Me. The
So
relationship is
you
really,
instigate it, but
yeah,
then you have problems with it.
yeah, because I've got into this pattern with her, but there's a lot of belief and duty around it that I'm scared of letting go of, to be honest, or letting her down or hurting her. Because in the past, when I was drinking, I was very hard and distant, and you might not have seen it, but I just didn't want to be around the kids, I didn't want kids. I never had kids. So, and then I went through this awakening, the kind of in loveness with all that, her and the kids, and I do love them. But the shutdown's coming back, and it's a very one-sided relationship, because when I go, I know how she's like it with everyone, but when I go, she doesn't ask me questions at all. So the conversation consists of me having to instigate conversation, or just there be an uncomfortable silence. I have to ask for things. So I'm kind of playing the role of friend stroke stepmother. So I'll say, oh, how's it going? How's work? How's this? How's that? And then I run out of questions. I'm an introvert. She's an introvert. Just put a label on the type of,
So it's
I'm
true.
not a very bubbly talker.
It's true to say that you want to have a good relationship with her. So you instigate a meeting, but then when you get together with her, you feel like it's really one-sided, and you regret that you've instigated that meeting. So you kind of got two things going. You want it, but when you get it, it's not good. It's not fulfilling for you.
No, not at all. Not at all fulfilling.
But when you haven't,
really,
so
really hard work.
After one of those meetings, when it's finished and you're at home by yourself again, how long before you have another go? You want it again, want enough to arrange a meeting? Does that happen?
I don't really want to. I don't really want to.
You do
I
it
could
though,
easily
don't
let it
you?
go.
How
I
long
do
before
it
you
because
do it?
I'm playing the sort of people game and what people do and what stepmoms do. I'm kind of playing that game
Right.
with
Why?
her because I feel because we've been through a lot together, and I've seen her. I know that she's got so many problems and insecurities, and I've helped her a lot in the past, I feel, and I kind of want to be there for her. But I don't, I feel like I was abandoning her, but actually I'm abandoning myself by going there. It's a weird thing. It's quite complicated. I'm not sure how to work it out. I never used to be like this. If I didn't want to see someone, I didn't see them, and I still do that. But with her, it just seems.
So if you said,
I just don't know what to do.
if you said,
don't know what
you said
to
to
do.
yourself, I won't contact her for 2 weeks, could you do that okay?
I do that sometimes, yeah, but I might make up an excuse because I worry that she'll feel. I don't know if she'll be relieved, or I don't know what's going on with her.
Yeah. If you believe her behavior, she'd be quite happy to not get together with you for a couple of weeks, eh? Because she seems uninterested in your life. Do you think she gets out of
She's
anything out of?
always been like that, though.
Yeah.
It's not.
Do you think she
she's
gets
always
anything
been
out of being with you? Does she get anything out of? She sounds like a typical teenager to me. Does she get anything out of you being with her? Do you think? Well, my grandson's 15, and we've just spent 2 days at their place, and I think I've heard him grunt twice.
Yeah, well, she's like a teenager, but she's 29 with 2 kids. But she's very much in teenager. And it has changed because she drinks more, and there's a concern she might have problem with drinking, like her father and like I used to.
Yeah.
It's like going to a teenager. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't know what she wants or what she thinks or what she feels.
So it's really,
But
it
she'll say,
sounds like
sometimes
it's,
she'll say, oh, I'll see you, sometimes, sometimes I'll see you next week, or maybe we'll come round to yours because it's the holidays. So it's very difficult. No, I keep saying that, but what to do in those situations. But I feel also like I'm abandoning myself when I go back because it's too uncomfortable.
yeah.
It did bring up a memory of my childhood. I seem to go through these feelings process, and then as a byproduct, a memory pops up, and it's like, oh, that's what it was about, you know.
So you think the whole thing is you reliving some of your own childhood. You're not wanting her to experience what you experienced as a kid or when you were younger.
I think I'm just very protective, and I don't want to hurt people, and I wouldn't want to hurt her by pulling away, you know.
Do you think she would be hurt, or do you think she couldn't care less?
I think she'd be a bit hurt. I think she might think it was strange or wonder why or
Yeah. So
what she'd done
if it
wrong.
was you, you would be hurt, eh?
Well, I can't look at that because she doesn't make an effort to I'm not losing anything if she pulled away. Sometimes I almost wish she did. She would.
It would be a relief, eh?
Yeah. In one way, it would be a relief, and in another way, it'd be like the kind of the only family I've got, and I know that underneath this barrier there are feelings for her. There is a love, you know, for them all. So I feel like it's my barrier that comes up sometimes. That's just coming up at the moment. I don't know why.
Right.
It's come up before.
So
It's coming up strongly at the moment.
it sounds like you um it would be really difficult for you to be really super honest with her and tell her how difficult it is and that you
Yeah,
would feel a sense
yeah,
of relief if she said don't come back or whatever. You can't tell her those things, can you?
no, doesn't feel,
So
no,
you've got to it kind of hurts to be a bit fake with her.
yeah, yeah, it hurts, yeah,
But you're not being fake with yourself about this, are you? You're being pretty honest. It feels to me like you're being pretty honest about how you feel about it. But you've got conflict.
yeah,
Hey, there's this conflict because what you want to do, you also don't want to do. Well, you want
yeah,
to have relief from her, but at the same time, your heart
mm,
goes out to her. So it's a bit tricky, isn't it?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is.
Mm. Yeah, difficult situation.
Mm, very difficult.
So what about the possibility of being a little bit honest with her to start with and just see how she takes it? Could you tell her that it's a bit, how would you tell her that it's difficult for you to have these times together without hurting her feelings? Or maybe you think it wouldn't, do you think it would hurt her feelings?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how could you tell her in a way that she wouldn't take it personally? Tell her that it's about you, that you find it difficult, not and it's not to do with her. Oh, well, would that be lying? Because it is to do with her. It is to do with her attitude, isn't it?
Yeah, there'd be a certain sense of failure in it as well. A certain sense of like, I don't want this to beat me. I don't want to be that immature. I don't want, you know, I don't want this block to stop me being around people. I don't want it to get the better.
So if you put it to
I
her,
want to be able to love her. Yeah, go on, sorry.
oh, go on. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, of course you do. Yeah, I can see that your heart goes out to her. But if you were to put it to her that it was about you and your discomfort, would she take it personally, do you think?
Yeah,
She would, right? Yeah.
yeah,
So you can only be honest to yourself about that. You can't be honest to her about that.
no.
Mm. So the conflict, the suffering that you experience comes from wanting two opposing things at the same time. Two things that
Yeah,
conflict.
I
You want
would
to
say
do it,
so.
but you don't want to
Mm,
do it. Yeah.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm. All right. Any ideas, Tyler? What would you say to
Well,
Anne?
I think this is just it's a band-aid situation, right? I mean, if you ever asked her what she wants, like, hey, you know,
My understanding of her, and I might be imagining this from what I know of her, but she's very protected. She never ever says what she wants. You know, if I say, "Would you want to do this? Or do you want to do that?" I don't know. You know, so she she's just got so much going on that I don't think that she would. She'd be like, "What?" She'd say, "What do you mean? What do you mean? I don't mind." Don't show. She didn't hide. She hides her feelings.
but you don't want to be with her, but you don't want to
I
hurt
do
her.
when I go. Yeah,
It might be more accurate to say you don't want to feel what you feel when you're with her, but you do want to be with her.
yeah, yeah. I don't want the no. I don't want the protection, the wall. Um,
I don't see anything you can do except to speak honestly. And you don't have to go at it with the angle of, I'm uncomfortable, so I might not come to you anymore. It's more like because that's not the truth of what it is, right? The truth of what it is you want to be close to her, but
mm,
she's not being open to you, and that makes
mm.
you feel uncomfortable when you're with her. Does that truth sound more palatable?
Could you say that again? Sorry, because I was just something just came to mind then that I thought about saying to her.
Like,
Sorry, say that again, Tyler. It sounded interesting.
it sounds like the truth of it is you want to be close to her, but she doesn't let her guard down around you and doesn't communicate with you, and that makes you feel uncomfortable when you're with her.
Mm. Yeah.
Does
Yeah.
that truth of it seem
Yeah,
more
that seems like
to
what's
her?
happening. Yeah. And since she's been drinking more, she's starting to look, and I'm starting to feel a bit more like I did with my ex around her.
Yeah, this really does sound like a toxic relationship.
It is really, to be fair.
One
But why
thing,
don't
what occurs here is
Yeah.
one thing that you could consider is that she doesn't let her guard down because she feels, whether it's accurate or not, she feels that you are critical, or that you tell her things about how she should live or how she should be or whatever.
Yeah. She couldn't have that because I don't.
You don't do that.
I
Okay.
want to sometimes, but I
Yeah, of
don't.
course. Yeah. I mean, you want the best for her.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many things I could say, but
So
I
it's
just
not, that's not the
refuse
reason
because
why
I feel
she,
that's what she needs.
yeah.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Because sometimes she'll say I'm the only one, or she said in the past, she'll be acting in normal, and then she'll just burst into tears. And she said before, I just can't talk to my mum about these things, or so, I know she can be soft with me sometimes, but that's happening less and less, and I think that's just the drinking is giving her a way out of feeling those things.
And can I ask you a quick question? It just came up curious. Is money a factor? Does she rely on you for financial support or financial support for the
No,
kids?
not at all. No, not at all in any way. No, don't rely on me for anything. I'm not sure if there's emotional support there. I don't know for her, but that's less and less, as I say, since she's been drinking. Her dad's back in her life. I think it's just a difficult situation. I mean, the only thing I suppose I can think is I don't know if this is the appropriate reason for this meeting. Sounds very sort of human, well, not human, but relative problems, doesn't it?
And the other thing that comes to mind, Anne, is again, just in families and relationships, is there a chance she feels torn between having a relationship with you and one with her father, that you aren't together, and that kind of maybe causes her to shut down and not be fully herself?
Again, I don't know because I don't know what it is with her father that she's. I think that's just the kind of drinking buddy she's brought him into her life because she's allowed to drink with him. And I don't. I never show a problem with her, and I don't have a problem with her seeing her father. I don't. I'm very open about it. And I know that her mum had a load of problems with it, and I did at the beginning, obviously. I had reactions, and then it just went, and she tells me about her mum's reactions, and I always say to her, I don't give a damn what you do with your dad. It's your relationship with him, as long as you're safe and happy, none of my business. So I don't know what goes on in her head, do I? I can only say what I say to her. But it's bringing up a lot of, I think it's bringing up a lot of childlike reactions, a lot of child stuff underneath for me that are uncomfortable, of not wanting to be certain places and like the memory that came up.
Does she drink
not
around
wanting to feel
you?
that uncomfortable. Pardon?
Does she drink around you?
No.
Okay.
Well, if we go out for a meal or something,
Yeah. But only
but
right, yeah. So she's not feeling guilty because you don't drink anymore.
no, I
Yeah.
always say to her, have a drink if you want. I'm not bothered, and I don't talk about her drinking
No, okay.
because I
Yeah.
know that doesn't help alcoholics if that was the way she was going, or people drinking.
Sure. Yeah.
Can't call
Yeah.
them out on it. They've got to make their own way through it.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I'm just cool about it. But
Mm.
Well, and it seems to me like the truly honest way you feel about this wouldn't be hurtful to her if you were brutally honest about everything that you felt and why you felt that way. Because it's not her fault, and you wouldn't make it sound like it's her fault. So I really don't see anything. There's nothing in you that you can change to make yourself okay with all of these different sides at the same time. I don't see anything that can be done except brutally honest
mm,
communication or leaving the problem.
yeah, I agree. No, I thought that I agree. I
Oh,
think the only way that you see, talking about it, I thought there was something in me that I might be able
yep.
to
Yeah. I'd
look
say
at and
I'd change what Tyler said in one way. I get what he means, and I'm kind of joking here, but I'd rather you be gently honest rather than brutally honest with.
Gently is good.
But yeah, being honest with her is a bit of a win-win situation, I suspect, and that is that either she might change and open up a bit, or she might say, "I don't want to know you anymore." And either way, you're in front, aren't you? Because that takes away the conflict for you. Or she
she
might
wouldn't say
go for
that.
a bit.
She'd never say that. She will put up with anything from her family.
Yeah.
She's very family love. She'd never say, she wouldn't break off from someone. She just wouldn't do that.
Mm.
And if they break off from her, which friends have done, then she's very resentful about that because she can't see her part in it.
Yeah.
If people don't ring her, she can't see her part that, well, do you ring them?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
So
she's
if you
got a
do
lot of resentment.
if you do decide to tell her, just make sure you talk about yourself, not about her. You tell her how you feel, and not blaming anybody, just explaining what it is you feel.
Yeah, but I mean, how could you say that? I don't feel comfortable around you anymore.
Yeah.
No, whatever we say, it's
Well,
going to
just say you
sound
don't say I don't
hurtful.
feel comfortable around you anymore. Just say I find these meetings a little bit difficult
Mm, mm,
because I want what I don't feel like I'm getting. What I want is um to be to for us to be more friends than we seem to
mm,
be,
mm.
whatever. You might even ask her, do
But I
you
think
feel friendly towards me?
on her terms, she might think that is being friendly
Yes, of course, could
on
be.
her terms.
Yeah, yeah.
So that would be a critical. I, th- I, mm, I think maybe I'm just going to kind of phase out a little bit
Okay, here's
and
another thought that
slowly.
comes to mind. You could write her a letter. Now you don't have to give it to her even. Just write
Mm,
her a letter
yeah.
explaining how you feel from your perspective.
Mm,
And then as you reread the letter that you've written, things will clarify
mm,
for you. And maybe you'll give it to her, or maybe you won't. It doesn't matter, right? But by writing the letter, you
yeah.
actually get it, you actually express it in a way that gets, and you might have to write a couple of letters because the first one won't be clear enough in your own mind. You know, you'll find that you'll change the way you express things. But that sounds to me like a good ploy. Write a
Yeah.
letter and see
I think
what
that's a
happens.
really good idea then. Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. Just to kind of bring it out and
Yes, and to clarify things for yourself. Yeah.
yeah, I think I need to clarify more. And what would you say about this really painful reaction then that I had? That was like, it's intensely painful. That of a child.
Can you describe it? Don't worry about how accurate you are. Just start describing it. So intensely.
It's hard to remember the feeling, but what I was doing was pulling it down into the feeling sense and staying with that. So say staying with it here. What is that? What is it that just keeps closing down, contracting so tightly? And
So is it right under where your fingers are now?
it's not there now.
But that's where you feel it. It's here.
Yeah. It's like it's like an almost unbearable, like I can't do this, I just can't bear this. It's too much. That kind of feeling.
So what does that feeling want to do? What's the first thing that comes to mind? Does it want to go up or down or sideways? Does it want to spread? Does it want to get tighter? What does it want to do?
It wanted to release.
And how would it release? In what direction would it release in? How would it release?
Outward.
Right.
It would release, it would expand outward. It was like a squeezing, tightness, and then it would just relax outward, which it did.
So it
but
would
it
come
took
out.
some kind of allowance. I was allowing it. I was being gentle with it. I was understanding it, not pushing it away. It's like a tight, I don't want to do that anymore. Don't want to go there like a child. And the memory was of that as well. I can't do that anymore. Don't do that anymore. And then there's the adult that does want to do that. And I think those are the two conflicting sides.
So you don't want to do what anymore? What comes to mind? What is it you don't want to do anymore?
I don't want that feeling anymore. I don't want to feel trapped. I feel trapped there sometimes.
Trapped.
And I just,
Yeah.
I can't breathe. I need to get away. It's like I've got to get away from here. That's how intense it feels. And the memory was of being a child and that happening. And I feel like I'm putting myself through it again. But when I go there, it's what's coming up. I'm going into that again and again. And now I've got a dread of going, and I don't want to avoid it because the adult in me knows that's avoiding, and I'm an adult, but there's this desire to abandon that child that's like, don't let me do it, don't let me go there. I can't do it. Hurts too much.
Is it being done to you?
I'm being forced to do it as a child. But yet the adult,
Yeah, I'd say don't
but
worry
yet
about
the
the
adult
adult
can
at the
tell.
moment. The adult wants to avoid it, but stay with the child.
Mm.
And it's being done to you, or is it in you?
Well, the memory that came up was quite a little memory actually. It was just of a kids' party, and the adults were in the other room being so they separated the kids and the adults, and I had to be in this room with the kids, and I didn't want to do. I was just terrified. But because the things that have been coming up lately is just when memories do come up, just remembering being left with all the children or loud children, just being very, boys being very noisy and loud, and me being very small and quiet and hiding. And I just didn't want to have that feeling anymore because they're very hard.
So who's
It's a
making you
twisting
stay with
thing.
them?
My parents,
And when you tell them you don't want to do it anymore, what do they say?
um, I don't remember telling them. I don't have that memory of telling them that I didn't want it. I just remember this one time where I was just kicking and screaming, and my dad took me away eventually because I wouldn't go in. That was it.
Mm.
But then it leads back to another time where I think the abuse happened, where there were kids there, and then from that point, it was just scary to be in unknown situations with unknown kids.
Yeah, but trapped
And
there.
I think being around, and it's come up before with Hannah and with the children, but I kind of got over it and it felt really good. And now I just don't know why it's coming up so strongly again. It just feels like a very hard environment to be around her.
Yes, I can imagine it does feel a bit like being trapped.
Yeah, very much. But it's difficult because in adult sense, it's a bit like, I want to be an adult, not
Yeah,
a
yeah,
child
but I worry
anymore.
about that. See, that's kind of avoidance stuff again, So it's probably better to don't bring the adult into it at this stage. You gotta go with the feeling that the being trapped, the kid feeling, stay with that. And don't worry about every time you bring the adult in, you kind of want to you bypass it. You want to finish it. You want to change it. You want to stop it. And that's not what's gonna you got to stay with it in order to take the charge out of it.
Mm,
So every time you say, well, I'm an adult, you kind of take the charge out of it, but it's not real, it's going to keep coming back until you really take the charge out of it. And the only way you're going to do that is just stay with it as a kid, because that's where it happened. That's that part of you now, that's in you now, that's trapped. It's not from before. And
mm.
bringing the adult in doesn't release the trap. It just hides it.
How do I do that? Because if I'm there, it's unbearable. It feels like if I'm there, it's unbearable, and if I don't go, I'm avoiding,
Mm, mm.
and I don't feel
Is
it.
it
So
is it actually unbearable? If it is, then you just need to go towards it more slowly. Right. So when it gets to the point where it seems like it's about to be unbearable, just stop and back off a little bit and just sit in that spot. Go as close as you
yeah,
can.
well, yeah,
You want to feel the discomfort, but you don't want it to get unbearable. So you go into the discomfort until the discomfort doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. Then you move a bit closer to it. And each time you get used to it, you go a bit closer and eventually you'll get right into it. You don't
mm.
need to go straight to the unbearable stuff. That's crazy because all you can do from then is run away.
Well, I don't feel like I'm doing it, and I feel like that's the place it's been taking me to, and then I run away. I make an excuse to go. Oh, I've got to go. I've got to call with someone, or
Yeah, yeah,
things
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
That's what I think.
Whatever
That's
comes up.
what I'm
Yeah,
doing, and that's what's a bit scary is that I just can't. It's like overpowering. When I
yeah,
went
yeah.
into the process of sitting with it and exploring it and, doing all the things that Angela's taught us to do is like, well, then it kind of showed me a process of how to do it, breathe, like you're saying, breathing into it and self-soothing, talking to it. It's okay, we're going to go soon, talk to that soft part of me, which
Yeah,
I've done before.
yeah.
No,
I'm
is
not
that not?
keen on that stuff too either because that again, it's just you're just learning to tolerate it. You're not, so
Mm,
it's you don't try and end it. It will end when there's no reason for it to
mm.
be there anymore. But by trying to end it, you're kind of avoiding it. So you
So
go,
are you saying go and sit there and tolerate it?
no, but only go as far as you can. It sounds contradictory. Only go, only go into the discomfort to a certain amount, So go in a bit more bit more, go past being comfortable into discomfort, but not into unbearable. So sit in discomfort, and then as you sit there, you'll get used to it, and then and it will stop being uncomfortable, or it will be less uncomfortable. And then in that case, just move forward again. Just go a little bit closer to it. You don't,
Mm,
whatever you do, don't go to unbearable because all you can do from that is escape.
mm,
But if you're comfortable, entirely comfortable, then you're not going to get anything out of it. You've got to just get that Goldilocks amount of juice, just enough to work with. And because what
I'm
you're
not sure
doing,
in the situation, Vince, how you mean. I'm not sure. So I'm there with her, and I'm getting this like, I don't want to be here. I
right?
hate
So
this.
what happens when you get, if you were to move towards unbearable, how do you do that? What happens? Do you imagine yourself in that situation, or what? How do you get how do you get towards the unbearable state?
Well, with other triggers and things that it might be. This feels like a massive thing. With
Mm.
other ones, I can feel it coming on. I can catch it.
Yes, yes.
And it's like, okay.
So under what
like,
circumstances do you feel it coming on?
well, with that one, with Hannah, the thing that's happening is I don't feel it coming on. It's just a big no. It's a big like
Just happens,
shutter,
yeah.
and I can't.
Okay,
Yeah.
so don't do it when you're actually with her. Sit at home and imagine being with her.
That's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's
And as
what I've
you
been doing.
imagine it, you can bring on those feelings. You'll
Yeah.
and if you one of the techniques in the theta work is to use a sentence that brings on that feeling. So you say to her in your imagination a certain sentence that triggers that feeling for you, and you'll work out how to do that, and then you just bring it on so it's just enough to be uncomfortable where you can not avoid it, but you're not into an unbearable state either. You just got enough
Well,
juice there
that's
to
what I was
work
doing
with.
the other day. I was like saying, "What is it?" But now it's yeah. So that yeah. So, yeah, I can still get into that.
Mm. So your brain
But
doesn't
it,
know.
but then it feels a bit like why would I want to sit around going into these bad feelings unless I absolutely have to?
Yeah. Because you don't want those bad feelings to turn up. So what you're doing is you're working on why they're there. You're working on what the trigger is for them until till
Mm,
till the point comes where they don't trigger you anymore.
mm, okay, okay. I don't want to take up any more time. I'm very
Yeah.
grateful though. To
Well,
talk
that's
about
okay.
it. And
Yeah. So try it out.
yeah,
I'll ask you next time
yeah,
I see you. Try it, and just see if you can generate enough juice to just
mm,
to to have a
yeah,
reaction, but not too big a
yeah,
reaction. Yeah, that's it.
yeah. It might not be as big now because I've sat with it and I've seen it, whereas maybe I was avoiding it before. Whereas I've
Yeah. Of
accepted it
course.
and
Yeah, that's right.
looked at it. So although there's a bit of like, God, is it going to happen again? And it might come into my mind, you
Mm.
know, yeah, it just is what it is when I go through it. Yeah, okay, that's really good. Thank you. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks, Tyler and Vince.
And I just want to throw in like a last thing. The whole thing, a big thing that could be triggering this is just not feeling like you have a way out.
Mm,
All of your mechanisms, all of your breathing into it, and your feeling like an
mm,
adult and scheduling something, it's all means to get away with it, to get away from it. Even your, why would I feel
mm,
this right now unless I absolutely have to? It's just
mm,
these all things that you've learned to not feel ways that you don't want to feel. And then, but there's
mm,
always this nagging thing where it's like, not everything can be avoidable forever. What if there's no way out of something and there's nothing you can
mm,
do about it? And
mm.
even that, saying that itself, does saying that nothing, you can't do anything about some things, does that make a bit of the feeling come up?
I think that would bring a bit of relief, actually.
Okay.
Like that rings of acceptance, really. There's nothing I can do about it. Maybe I'm misinterpreting what you're saying.
Maybe I'm way off the mark. Don't worry about it.
I don't think so. Say it again, see if I can see it in a different way around. What was it you said?
that feeling, especially when you described how you felt when you were at the kids' party in the room, this whole thing kind of sounds like being trapped. When you're with her, there's some conflict in you that doesn't let you get out of the situation.
Mm.
So it's not just the discomfort from it, it's a discomfort amplified by the fact that you don't feel that there's a way out.
Mm. Yeah, that's bang on. I don't feel like there's a way out. I feel very trapped. Yeah.
So what do you do if there's nothing you can do about it?
Well, that's exactly how it feels at the time. There's nothing I can do about it.
I think that's contributing to that tightness, the trapped feeling too. And I think it's good to note that so that when you notice yourself trying to avoid the whole thing, you can see how that's a direct avoidance of this exact thing that's causing the feeling that you're feeling.
Mm. Mm.
That might be good to note when you try this stuff.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Mm.
Play with it and see what happens. It's an
Mm.
experiment.
Exactly, it is. That's how I'm feeling it, yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, it's almost midnight here, so I'm going to go to bed now. I've got. I'll be back up at 5 o'clock. So yeah. All right. Good
All
stuff.
right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Vince. Thanks, everybody. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you
Bye,
so much.
Phoebe.
Lots of love, bye.
Night, everybody.